Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartooning. My name is Brandon Noel. I'm a cartoonist, painter, illustrator, novelist, sword fighter, and sometimes, a professional idiot. So, thank you for joining me here on Saturday Morning Cartooning. Today we're going to be talking about The Incredible Hulk that ran from 1996 to 1990. It produced 2 seasons. It was how many episodes? I believe 36 episodes. I don't believe all of them are on Disney Plus right now. I think it says 13 episodes for season 1 and 13 episodes for season 2 or something like that on Disney Plus. But I remember even thinking there were more episodes. I rewatched a few episodes not too long ago. I rewatched the 3-part finale of season 1, Darkness and Light, where Doc Samson manages to split the Hulk and Bruce Banner into 2 separate bodies, and chaos ensues. Also leading to the creation of the Grey Hulk, or Mr. Fix-It. Again, the Hulk ran from 1996 to 1990. It was part of the UPN Kids lineup on Saturday morning. The only show that I remember liking in this lineup was The Incredible Hulk and the Jumanji animated series that came out of the UPN Kids lineup. I actually really enjoyed the Jumanji series. The Hulk is a part of the Marvel animated universe. He first shows up in the Marvel Power Hour. He shows up in the Fantastic Four, and then I believe he has a 2-parter in Iron Man before getting his own animated series. That was one of the things that it really is kind of cool about the Incredible Hulk, or not the Incredible, but that Marvel animated universe, where it's an X-Men cartoon, but Spider-Man shows up, or even before that, like Spider-Man's hand might show up in one episode. They properly set up a character before getting his own animated series. I don't remember if the Hulk was. I think the Hulk gets a mention in one of the first episodes. I think the Lizard episode with Spider-Man, the animated series. But the Incredible Hulk was, I love this series. I think it's the best adaptation of the character. The TV show is interesting, but it's very constrained by its budget and its contempt for the source material. The live-action TV show doesn't seem to be interested in telling Hulk stories. Very famously, they changed Bruce Banner's name to Eric Banner in the live-action TV show with Lou Ferrigno because Bruce was considered too homosexual of a name for a leading male character. They didn't want anyone to think that the Hulk was gay because of his name being Bruce. That's a true story. with the Hulk, the animated series, they pay homage to the past by having Lou Ferrigno come in and voice the Hulk. They also, it is the best adaptation. It's the adaptation I fell in love with. It has one of the best opening sequence. The first season has one of the best opening sequences of any Saturday morning cartoon, period. It really sets up the nightmare that is the Hulk's life, with him just wanting to be alone with his love, Betty, and being constantly tormented by this monstrous existence, being hounded by the government, being hounded by these creatures, beautiful animation, beautiful setup. This is not the first Incredible Hulk cartoon. There was one, I think, in the 60s that maybe it was the 70s, because it was the follow-up to Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. When Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends petered out, it became the Incredible Hulk show. And for me personally, when it comes to the Incredible Hulk, I think of this cartoon. This is the best version of the character, the best version of the melodrama. Even now with the movies, this is still the best version that we ever got of the character. It's my understanding, I haven't seen Captain America Brave New World yet, but it's my understanding that the leader appears or has a cameo, and it's like, finally, one of the best comic book villains of all time that was set up in the 2008 Hulk movie, we're finally getting back to with establishing the leader. And the images I've seen online where his brain's a little bigger, that's a missed opportunity. You go full 1950s, double the size of the cranium with the leader. They really missed the mark on that design. I know Kevin Feige will never listen to anything I put out there, but when it comes to designs, stop it. Just look at what Jack drew. Just try to emulate Jack Kirby and shut up. Get out of the way of the adaptation and present the material as best you can. And that's what this cartoon did. It really presented the material. It adapted a lot of the early monster stuff, and then it went right up into the She-Hulk era, which their adaptation of She-Hulk is perfect, pitch perfect. We get a Ghost Rider episode, which is really impressive. Ghost Rider was one of the characters that, like I said, in the Marvel animated universe, they would test the waters first. Like Daredevil gets a beautiful Fantastic Four cartoon when they adapted And the Blind Shall Lead Them, where the Fantastic Four lose their powers and Daredevil has to help them out. It's a beautiful adaptation, has one of the greatest Thing moments in all of animation, and it establishes who Daredevil is. Daredevil also shows up in a two-parter with Spider-Man, where Peter Parker is accused of committing a crime and Matt Murdock must defend him. And you get the vague feeling that he figured it out, but he's not going to tell Peter, that he knows. Really cool stuff. And we got the idea that, hey, maybe we'll get a Ghost Rider cartoon. Because Ghost Rider was huge in the 90s. That, it ran 90 some odd issues, just shy of 100. And then somewhere in 2008, I believe, I could be wrong on the date, somewhere between 2008 and 2012, they brought back the original creative team on that Ghost Rider and let them do 3 more issues to finish the Ghost Rider run at 100 issues. Marvel didn't need to do that, but it's a very touching notion that they're like, no, we're going to let these guys come back and finish things out at 100. And I really appreciate when Marvel does stuff like that. But we were this close to getting a Ghost Rider the animated series, a Daredevil the animated series, but instead we got the Silver Surfer animated series, which is fun, but I understand how important Silver Surfer is to the history of comics and all that. He is a pacifist by nature, so I don't think he adapts well to action. It's really cool that Marvel has this pacifistic character in their pocket and can tell amazing stories. But he is a reactionary character, and I don't think he works as a driving force for a Saturday morning cartoon. Just my personal opinion. If you happen to love the Silver Surfer Saturday morning cartoon, I'm sorry. But the Incredible Hulk did such a beautiful job of adapting this action superhero stuff and presenting it like a romantic tragedy and presenting it like the horror show that it is. That, when I'm glad we got Professor Hulk in the live action stuff, but we never really explored the Hulk's universe to its fullest capability. We never got to see the Wendigo, and we never got to see some of these other crazier aspects of the Hulk. Even I love the She-Hulk TV show, but that was her show. That's not the Hulk show, and those are two very different characters. If you get a chance, spend some time on Disney Plus and just watch both seasons. They're brilliant. They're incredibly well animated. They're incredibly well voiced. It's the best Hulk content material ever produced. Maybe the Hulk animated movies that came later, the 2 double feature, Hulk versus Wolverine and Hulk versus Thor. Hulk versus Thor is really well done, but as far as just pure Incredible Hulk stuff, this is, the animated series is where you want to go. I'm trying to paint something close to their take on the Incredible Hulk as far as getting that face, that anger, that what that show did really well was dramatic lighting, and try to capture some of that lighting on the Hulk's face. Just absolutely brilliant stuff. My first introduction to the Hulk probably would have been not this cartoon, might have been the earlier, the first cartoon. But the Hulk is one of those characters that's just always been with me. Reading comics early, Marvel does a great job of crossing over their own continuity and their own characters. So, if you are reading a Fantastic Four, the Hulk does show up, or the Hulk's going to show up in a Spider-Man issue, or whatever. These characters interact and interplay with each other incredibly well. And that's one thing the animated series, the Marvel Animated Universe, did really well with all. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, thank you for your time. Galahad the Fallen is a new webcomic available exclusively on webtoons.com. Galahad the Fallen follows the adventures of Sir Galahad after the fall of Camelot. In the ashes of Camelot, Galahad decides to take up the last and final quest any knight can do: get vengeance for his king. He is going to hunt down the man responsible for the fall of Camelot, Sir Lancelot, not only a noble knight himself, but also Galahad's father. Join us on webtoon.com as the exciting adventure of Galahad the Fallen unfolds exclusively in this new webcomic. Other crossovers. I would go back and watch the Iron Man Hulk crossover, I think, more than any of them when I had them all in VHS, because of just the way that one impressed me. And there was, I believe, a time travel element where at one point, Iron Man is trying to prevent the bomb from going off and creating the Hulk. And it's really well done. And even back then, the idea of Iron Man just trying to help Bruce Banner save his life was a thread. And just brilliant stuff. These cartoons obviously had a huge impact on me. With this piece, though, I am doing kind of a mashup. I'm drawing this animated Hulk and then trying to do something a little bit more closer to the live action TV show, with something closer to Bill Bixby's Bruce Banner, or Eric Banner for that show. Bill Bixby famously disdained the character, even though he played him for 5 seasons. He had an alcohol problem, and it's a shame, because you can go out there and you can find interviews where he is just repugnant and absolutely hates the fact that this is the character that he's been reduced to playing. And it's sad, because he is an incredible actor. The live action show did not give as much. If they had followed closer to the actual comic storyline, with the military being the one to pursue him, and the idea of because in the pilot they pretty much kill off the love interest storyline, which is stupid, because the idea of Betty being there, his rock, it's good melodrama, it's good soap opera fodder, and that stuff really helps me, because not everything can be action, beat 'em up, crash, bang. So if you have that soap opera element, it could have helped carry the story and the weight of the story a lot further than what they did with it. Fun fact on the TV show, you get Jack Kirby's one and only cameo. They bring in a police sketch artist to draw this woman's depiction of the Hulk. And Jack Kirby plays the police sketch artist. So, hey, Jack Kirby got his cameo and then I believe that's probably what spurred Stan Lee to do, because Stan Lee doesn't get his first cameo until years later when they do the made-for-TV movies, and it's The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, where Stan Lee gets his first cameo as a jury member. Again, Jack Kirby was there first. If you've seen those movies, I absolutely loved them. I had them on VHS. I wore out that tape. I upgraded them to DVD. I don't believe they're available on Blu-ray, because there's 3 of them. There's the Return of the Incredible Hulk, the Hulk versus Thor, and then the Trial of the Incredible Hulk, which the trial ends with a possible death of the Incredible Hulk, but it's so poorly shot and just kind of lame that there's no real way this is the end of the Hulk, but okay, if you say so. The Hulk versus Thor was also a soft pilot for a Thor TV show that never took off. I don't enjoy that interpretation of Thor. But that's the one that was prevalent in the comics at the time. The idea of this doctor and having to bang his cane then transforms into Thor. The Edward Blake Thor. I'm glad that version didn't stick around, and that ultimately we got the version of Thor that we got. The straight up Asgardian god is a much better story. With the painting I'm doing right now, I did the shadow is ink wash, so it's watered down ink, and then I went in with gouache greens. I'm experimenting more with gouache paint. It is a water-based paint. Very famously, this is what Alex Ross uses. I think I'm going to stick more with the watercolor in the future. I prefer the watercolor. But it's good to step out of your boundaries and try something new. Like I said, I'm definitely leaning into the Bill Bixby, Bruce Banner of it all. Even though Bill Bixby didn't like the character, he was so iconic. The "you won't like me when I'm angry," it's just beautiful. He played the man on the run very well, whereas the animated series had the fortune of oh no, he's the man on the run, but we're going to get to play with other characters, and the leader's going to attack, or he's going to run into Ghost Rider. They adapted the Grey Hulk stuff very well with the whole seeing his mindscape and seeing what's playing on inside his head as these different Hulks battle it out for internal control. Um, it's Salvador Dali-esque with the way they leaned into some of those visuals. Like, this was definitely my first introduction to like Doc Samson. He's still kind of a character I don't have a good beat on, because I only know him as a Hulk side character. I know he had his own title at one point, but it wasn't. So there's only so many comics, and you can only read so much of it. So there's stuff that's just going to slip through the cracks, and Doc Samson just kind of doesn't really ring that bell for me. Although I should probably go back and try to check some of that stuff out. They really lean into his relationship with Rick Jones, who I always liked Rick Jones. The idea behind Rick Jones is he was the kid listening to his radio out in the middle of the desert when they were going to test the gamma bomb. And so he's the kid that Bruce Banner saved during the test and led to him becoming the Hulk. So Rick Jones tried to follow the Hulk as a loyal best friend and tone him down, and basically what Rick Jones ended up becoming in the comics was the Jimmy Olsen of the Marvel universe. Like, he would just show up at Avengers Mansion, or he would Rick Jones bounced around, and in the 90s he was a much bigger character. The thing about comics is you get a young reader base, they gravitate to the characters that they like, and then when they stop reading, eventually the newer reader base comes in and picks up the characters that they like. So a character can be insanely popular for 10, 15 years and then kind of fade off into obscurity, like Rick Jones. Or like at one point The Thing was clearly the most popular character in Marvel until Wolverine kind of took that popularity. So it's interesting to see what characters pop, and again, Rick Jones is one of those characters who I absolutely love. He for me, I always envisioned him as the 90s, studded ring, leather or denim vest, kind of mulleted good guy. And Rick Jones was really important at one point. Joining the Avengers at basically at one point. So again, it's interesting to see what characters come in and fade out of popularity. Because I went back and I watched the season 1 finale, the 3-parter, and my 5-year-old niece, who I was babysitting at the time, came in, and she did not like the Hulk. She's like, I don't like this. I don't like it. And it's definitely a darker cartoon. I don't think we would get away with some of the stuff today that we had in the 90s. Batman the Animated Series pushed everything tonal wise to a darker place. Spawn was out there winning awards, and that went super dark. And just in general, comic books were leaning into that darkness. Not necessarily kid-appropriate content, but the Saturday morning cartoons did a great job of distilling some of those storylines back down to a kid-friendly version, you know, with Mr. Fix-It and the multiple Hulks and, you know, Abomination and Gargoyle and, you know, the Hulkbusters. My point is, the Hulk has some really cool villains, and we got to see a lot of that. We got to see the crossovers. We got to, you know, like, this was the stuff we grew up on. And if you're a Hulk fan, you're going, well, why can't they do this in the movies? You know, well, they do what they can. I mean, we've seen, like, this is the best adaptation of the Hulk, period. You know, when they did Agents of Hulk and the Agents of Smash, that was clearly designed at a younger demographic. And, you know, it's like, all right, this just isn't my cartoon. This isn't, you know, in '96, the Incredible Hulk was worth getting up and watching, you know, at you know, 8 or 9 in the morning. Other than Bluey, I can't think of a cartoon produced today that would actually be worth getting up that early to watch. You know, just, you know, X-Men 97, but that is an intentional throwback to this universe and these shared characters, which finally the X-Men 97 acknowledged their connection to the Hulk when they had Morph or Changeling transform into the Hulk in the final battle. So, and they used this version of the Hulk with the flat top, and it was a little off model from the 90s, but I don't know if they could have even gotten those model sheets to those assets. So they were it was clearly inspired by this Hulk, but again, I don't think they had access, because this show was produced for UPN Kids. And UPN Kids was a short Saturday morning lineup, lasted into the early 2000s. Yeah, I think it made it all the way to the end of, to the death of the Saturday morning cartoon. But they didn't produce a lot of original stuff other than Jumanji, Incredible Hulk. There's a couple other shows on here that I'm seeing that I don't remember. I believe for weekday mornings they produced the what was that bug movie? I believe they produced the Starship Troopers animated series, which I really enjoyed. But I believe that was more for the weekday. And 'cause I'd get up early before school to watch that. And I really enjoyed that series. But a lot of this UPN Kids lineup just kind of died out, and they were licensing other cartoons. They would license the reruns for the Marvel Power Hour and, you know, Spider-Man, and, you know, basically they became that network that licensed out or reused older cartoons for their Saturday morning lineup. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're presenting these cartoons. Like, I don't think enough time had passed, and they're clearly paying a lot. Like, they're re-airing Beetleborgs and you know, after its original airing on Fox Kids. So I don't think, you know, they acquired a lot more cartoons than they created, and obviously out of the ones they created, The Incredible Hulk is probably the best series. You know, again, attached to that Marvel Animated Cinematic Universe, which back then spanned several networks, because you had the Marvel Power Hour, which I think was produced for ABC. Then you had the Fox Kids shows, which were X-Men and Spider-Man. They would do an Avengers cartoon, but that's not in the same continuity. Oh, and they would do Silver Surfer, which we can argue if it was in the same continuity or not. It was in outer space. I think he runs into Thor. I'll call it in the same continuity. And then you had the UPN Hulk series. So 3 different networks, same continuity, with the voice actors crossing over. And, you know, oh, the Ghost Rider that we saw in the Hulk shows up in Fantastic Four. You know, thank God, because the Fantastic Four Ghost Rider cameo was pretty much wasted. He gets a big moment with using the pennant stare on Galactus, of all things, which I maintain shouldn't have worked. You know, it just shouldn't have. Galactus is a force of nature. It's like trying to make death itself repentant. So yeah, I don't agree with that interpretation. But if he hadn't had a 22-minute episode in the Hulk, I might not know who he was at all when he shows up in Fantastic Four. So yeah, I absolutely love these characters and that early universe that they built. It was a huge part of my childhood. You know, the Iron Man that I'm watching in the Marvel Power Hour shows up to help Spider-Man fight Mordo and Carnage in, you know, Spider-Man. It's like, whoa, like, you know, this was really aggressive stuff for a kid. And, you know, it was just representing the truth of what those comics were, that, yeah, this is a shared universe. And these guys are going to cross over if they're working in New York. So it was a very good adaptation of the Marvel comic universe. It helped make me fall in love with those early comics. And, you know, I really love it. This show in particular made me a Hulk fan. The live action TV show didn't really do it for me. The movies are fun. If you haven't seen the movies, it's the Return of the Hulk, Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and Death of the Incredible Hulk. Trial is by far the best one. Stanley gets his first cameo as a juryman. But it's a Daredevil crossover. And we get a Daredevil, but it's the black suit Daredevil. It's the ninja spandex Daredevil. But it is the first live action Daredevil we ever got. And I enjoyed it. It was something that I rewatched the heck out of. Before there was any other thing, you know. Like, this is all we had was Lou Ferrigno painted green for many, many years. And God bless Lou Ferrigno. I have had the fortune of meeting him a few times at different conventions. He is an absolutely lovely man. And if you ever get the chance to spend some time with Lou Ferrigno, you will be better off for it. To this day, he is a diehard, true fan of this character. And he has been a great brand ambassador for Marvel and Marvel Comics. He loves this stuff, and he's out there telling people and how good this stuff is. And so I appreciate what Lou has done over the years as far as not only being the Incredible Hulk, but being an ambassador for the brand of Marvel and help spreading the word about, no, this stuff is really cool. And yeah, Lou is a great guy. Again, I haven't spent a whole lot of time just casually talking to him at conventions here and there. Somewhere I have a signed photo of him and Adam West, and it's just really cool. Like I never got Adam West to sign the photo, but that was I never had the fortune of meeting West. And the one convention where I was like, no, I'm going to spend the time, I'm going to pay the money, I'm going to get Adam West's signature, was the one convention he canceled before he passed away. Like there was a convention before he came out publicly with being sick. There was a Wizard World where he just canceled, and even Burt Ward was like, he doesn't do this. He doesn't cancel shows. So we were all a little worried about his health, and then a few years later he passed. But that was my fault. I didn't seize the day. I'd been to many conventions, and I spent my money foolishly on other things instead of getting that Adam West signature. But c'est la vie. Well, with that said, really enjoy these episodes. Still trying to figure out what I'm doing with them. Again, Saturday, we're all talking about Saturday morning cartoons. This was the show that made me a Hulk fan. This show made me appreciate what the Hulk could be. And it's I still don't think of Mark Ruffalo when I think of the Hulk. I think of the 90s Hulk. I think of but this is the sweet spot for me. This is I look at the lighting. There's a moment in the opening sequences where the music becomes this tragic romantic piece, and the camera rotates as Bruce and Betty are dancing with each other, and then Bruce falls into this big hole, and the last thing you see as everything fades to shadow is his arm turned into the Incredible Hulk's arm, ripping the shirt off before jumping out of the hole as the Hulk. Like it's just so cinematic, and to animate that piece with the camera rotating by hand. This is 96 animation. We're not cheating with well, I don't want to say cheating, but we're not utilizing computer animation at this point. This is hand-drawn. This is craftsmanship that needs to be examined. If you're an animator, if you're an artist, just go to YouTube and look at this stuff. It's brilliant. The opening sequence is a masterpiece in storytelling. With that said, well, there you have it. Please like and subscribe. One of my favorites. I absolutely love this one. The cartoon has one of the best opening not the best song. Like DuckTales has a much better the DuckTales song lives rent free in my head. But that Hulk montage is some of the best animation I have ever seen to date. That opening sequence. What is one of your favorite opening title sequences to a Saturday morning cartoon?